As we start talking about World War II, you're going to know that it had a lot to do with the past and World War I. That's why history is really so important. And we're going to go back again just to review the Versailles Treaty, because what you're going to find is that the provisions of the Versailles Treaty will be ignored, and there's no one that comes in to stop it. Now, just so most of you understand, the mechanism to stop the another war from happening was supposed to be the League of Nations. People were supposed to join the League, countries were supposed to join the League of Nations, and if there ever was a problem, other countries would kind of gang up on the country that was causing problems. But as you're going to see throughout this presentation, so many things happen, aggression, totally ignoring the Versailles Treaty, and no country really steps up to tell these countries, stop, you cannot do this. Most of you know that Germany was blamed. That was not a good thing. They also had to pay millions of dollars. That was not a great thing. But this disarmament, Germany's only allowed to have a very small army, 6 naval ships, no tanks, no air force, no submarines. And the Rhineland, which is, again, very close to France, which is a very rich area, that's going to be demilitarized. You're going to see that Germany is not supposed to take over. You would also know that France, for a time, did take over this area. To give you some more examples of aggression that is not going to be stopped, Italy invades Ethiopia for the second time. They unsuccessfully in 1896. They will win their conquest in 1936 and take over Ethiopia. There is an embargo imposed, but it wasn't on something that was really important that would make a difference to Italy, and that would have been oil, but it did not include oil, so this was a pretty ineffective embargo. And you're going to see how ineffective it is because Italy will invade Albania in 1939. Talk about Japanese aggression. You already know about the Manchurian incident in 1931. Japan had been eyeing Manchuria for a while. It felt it had great wealth and natural resources, so they created an excuse to attack China. The League of Nations will condemn this incident and condemn Japan, but they impose no sanctions. So Japan's going to say, forget you guys, and they withdraw from the League. In 1937, you can see that Japan hasn't learned its lesson. There will be an all-out conquest of China. And by 1939, they controlled a large part of China, specifically eastern China. Now, the United States, who was not a part of the League of Nations, starts to impose economic sanctions, and you know what that leads to. That will lead to the Pearl Harbor attack. Let's go back to Germany, and we will talk about a couple things that Germany will do that really indicates war is coming. Most of you know that things were going pretty bad for the German people, so they turned to this new visionary man, Adolf Hitler. And this is just an overview. We'll talk about some of these things in more detail coming up in the presentation. But he begins really in 1934, violating the Treaty of Versailles. No one stops him. He will order troops into the Rhineland, which was against the League of Nations. No one stops him. That was in 1936. He will then take over Austria and demand part of Czechoslovakia called the Sudetenland, and you're going to see that eventually he's going to get this. He's going to get what he wants. Okay, and we'll talk about some of these people here, about Chamberlain and what happens. Just so you can see this on the map, this area right here is the Rhineland, and you can see the French border here. This was not supposed to be, militarized, and it's going to be. And then this is the Sudetenland that we're talking about that he's going to claim belongs to ethnic Germans. So to talk about really what happens with Austria, Hitler will claim in his book Mein Kampf that he wants all ethnic Germans to be together. He also talked about Lebensraum, which is living space for the German people. So he actually is from Austria. So he's claiming, I want to be united with Austria. So he pretty much bullies his way in by forcing the Austrian Chancellor to admit Nazis into a cabinet, and then he invades Austria, and now Austria is going to be a part of the Third Reich. No one does anything. Because if you remember, part of Woodrow Wilson's 14 points was this really popular belief of self-determination, that people ethnically should share one country. And so he's going to keep claiming that. Again, the Versailles Treaty didn't necessarily care about self-determination, but it was a really strong argument at the time. So he's going to claim that, and nobody's going to stop him or do anything about it. You will see that many politicians and leaders in the 1930s will practice what's called appeasement. Appeasement is really giving in to someone's demand, saying, okay, you can have this one more time. We're going to appease you. We're going to give you what you want so we don't have to fight. Neville Chamberlain is going to be really synonymous for appeasement. He's the Prime Minister of England. He actually believed the Versailles Treaty was too harsh, and he felt like, hey, if I give in to Hitler's demands, this is going to prevent war. And he seems to be really the only leader that tries to do something. It obviously wasn't enough, and a lot of people don't, look back negatively at appeasement, and they're going to look negatively at this Munich Agreement, because really Hitler's going to get what he wants. He's going to be able to invade Czechoslovakia, but he is told there's no more further territorial gains or claims that can be made. We're not giving you any more, Hitler, and you're going to see that they're going to realize after this agreement a little too late that Hitler wasn't going to keep his promises, and he did have aspirations for more land. This is a picture of Neville Chamberlain. There he is shaking hands with Hitler. And again, this Munich Pact was signed by leaders from Germany, France, and England. And what's going to happen is, again, that Sudetenland is going to go to Germany, and then really by March, though, 1939, a year later, he's going to take over the entire country. Now, Czechoslovakia was a democratic country, and they were not consulted at all about this Munich Pact or Munich Agreement, and they were pretty much stabbed in the back by Britain and France, because they were ready and willing in 1938 to fight Hitler and to stop him from taking over part of their country. And in fact, Neville Chamberlain is going to famously say, this is peace in our time. He thought that giving in to Hitler, appeasing him, and giving him the Sudetenland, which is a part of Czechoslovakia, and again, Hitler's going to claim these are ethnic Germans living here, I need to take it back. And you're also going to see that Hitler, all of this land, he is trying to get it back, and it was land taken away from World War I. So if you kind of agree with Hitler and you're thinking the Versailles Treaty was wrong and it was too harsh, let's give you all the land back that you lost, you might think this is okay. But again, this little piece of paper, this is peace in our time. Many people didn't read the book Mein Kampf, and they realized a little too late that they should not have trusted Hitler. In 1939, Hitler will sign the Nazi-Soviet Pact, called the Non-Aggression Pact. And this was really interesting because the Soviet Union and Stalin had specifically asked Britain and France for help. He was really concerned about Nazism and Hitler's growing power, but they didn't talk to him because they feared communists more than fascists during this time period. And Hitler was thinking this is a great thing. He did not want to fight a two-front war, and for a time he's not going to have to. He just got a little overzealous. In September, Germany will invade Poland, and that was kind of the last straw. Britain and France will declare war on Germany. German troops will invade Denmark and Norway. The German Blitzkrieg was very powerful. They take over France really in 6 weeks, and you can see all these places that Germany is going. Now, Germany was thinking this is easy. His plan all along was to quick defeat Britain and France. He defeated France pretty quickly. The British are going to take a lot longer, and then the United States will get involved. But he was thinking, defeat these people, these two countries, and then I'm going to go and attack the Soviet Union. But you're probably thinking, wait, wasn't he friends? Weren't Hitler and Stalin friends? Hitler was friends with Stalin just temporarily, and he wasn't really friends. He always had planned on attacking the Soviet Union. He just wanted part of Poland first, and he really didn't want to fight a world war. So here's some information to help you get started on learning about the causes of World War II.